It's been nearly 2 weeks since Oliver Anthony's song Rich Men North of Richmond went viral across the internet. And yet, for all of the articles and all the examination and all the conversation, folks in the mainstream media cannot understand why this song is affecting people the way that it is. But I'm going to see if I can help them out because I've got two stories. On their face, they're seemingly unrelated, but when you put them together, consider all the facts and the implications involved, I think even people in the press will begin to understand why Oliver Anthony's song has become an anthem for millions of people in this country and around the world. Hang on, folks. I'll explain what I'm talking about here. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your front porch conservative. Step on up to my electronic front porch and let's talk. I knew the media wouldn't get it. Didn't matter how long you gave them, didn't matter how many times you tried to tell them, the media would not understand and still don't understand why a song like Oliver Anthony's Rich Men North of Richmond connects with people in this country the way it does. They've been writing reviews about it now for days. They view it as some kind of misappropriated anger, and they just don't understand why people in this country feel the way they do. But I'm going to show you two stories that, when you put them together, I think even people in the press ought to be able to figure it out. So let's start with the first story, and that is President Biden's upcoming visit to Maui to review the devastation that's happened in the wake of the massive wildfires on the island. We'll start with CBS News. Biden heads west to vacation in Lake Tahoe, then visit Maui devastation. Now, to be perfectly honest, President Biden had no intention of going to Maui. As a matter of fact, when he was asked about it coming off of his vacation in Delaware, he said no comment. Seemed pretty callous, seemed pretty cold. Finally, he agreed to do it, but only after former President Trump basically shamed him into doing it. So by the time you are watching this video, Joe Biden will be on the ground in Maui, looking over the devastation, talking to survivors, first responders, etc., fulfilling an appropriate function, unofficial function of his office, and that is comforter-in-chief. And I will give the Biden-Harris administration credit. They have been trying to help out in advance of the president being there. Here's a release from FEMA. This came out 2 days ago. Biden-Harris administration sends nearly 1,000 federal responders to Hawaii. Okay, that's great. The Biden-Harris administration announced that nearly 1,000 federal responders are on the ground in Hawaii to help the state recover from the devastating wildfires. In the days since President Biden declared a major disaster declaration for the state of Hawaii, FEMA has approved more than $5.6 million in assistance to nearly 2,000 households, including more than $2.3 million in initial rental assistance. Well, okay. $5.6 million in assistance, $2.3 million in rental assistance. Well, that's pretty good. Of course, when half or more of the island's been burned alive, I don't know what you're going to go rent, but okay, you got some rental assistance out there. Now, I can just hear you now that you're going to be like, oh, come on, front porch, you're being pretty jaded. Well, maybe I am. Maybe I am old. Maybe I am cynical. But the next line just might justify my cynicism. Listen to this. A little further into this press release is a paragraph that just boggles the mind. And it goes like this. Survivors may also be approved for a one-time immediate payment of $700 for critical needs assistance, one of several types of federal assistance that may be eligible to receive. Examples of other types of assistance may include help with a temporary place to stay, funding home repairs, and emergency needs that insurance and other financial assistance sources may not cover. $700 in emergency need assistance to cover things that insurance may not take care of. $700. Now, to be fair, I am sure that most, if not all, the folks in Maui had insurance on their homes, their personal property, their businesses. But when you're dealing with something this massive and this devastating, it's going to take time, even for the best intentioned of insurance companies, to do something as far as getting claims processed, getting monies out to victims, etc. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to demean or diminish, the private sector's efforts to help in this, particularly through insurance companies. I get that. But the federal government is giving $700 to help cover things that insurance may not take care of. $700 per person. Assuming, of course, that you have dotted all the I's and crossed the T's and jumped through all the hoops that a bureaucracy requires you to do in order to receive your $700. To help with home repairs. Home repairs. Do you know what the average price of a house is in Maui, Hawaii? This comes from Realtor.com. Average home price, median home price in Maui, $1 million. But thank God the federal government's there to help give out $700. Now, all that would be galling enough and a demonstration of the ineptitude and the unawareness of a federal bureaucracy. But when you throw this next story into it, this should make everybody that watches this video just mad as hell. This comes from a website called responsiblestatecraft.org. Update. Biden to ask Congress for $25 billion in new Ukraine aid. The new money is included in a $40 billion emergency spending request, setting up a fight over whether Congress should blow off the caps. President Biden made a detailed formal request for a new $40 billion emergency spending bill that includes $25 billion in Ukraine-related assistance, $13 billion in military assistance, and $12 billion for humanitarian relief. $25 billion for Ukraine, but $700 for each citizen in Maui. Now, this has not been approved yet. This is a formal request from the Biden White House to Congress for $25 billion for Ukraine, a nation on the other side of the globe, for people who are not citizens of the United States, involved in a war that, from a national security standpoint, has nothing to do with us. But Biden wants to give $25 billion more to Ukraine, of which $12 billion is humanitarian assistance for the Ukrainians, but $700 for the citizens of Maui. And on top of that, as if that additional $25 billion weren't galling enough that he's going to ask for, we just released $200 million in aid to Ukraine in the past 7 days. At a time, by the way, lest I forget to bring up this point, at a time, by the way, when a majority of Americans don't want to send any more money to Ukraine to aid them in their war with Russia, according to CNN, by the way. No more money for Ukraine, yet Biden wants to give them $25 billion more. But thank God we're giving $700 to citizens in Maui. Now, do you folks in the press begin to understand why people in this country are so disgusted and so angry with their government? Tell you what, let's just take it one step further. Let's just assume for a moment that the $25 billion that the Biden administration wants to send to Ukraine, they actually gave to every citizen on the island of Maui. What would that work out to? Well, first you got to get a round idea of how many people we're talking about. According to the last census that was done, there are 165,386 residents of Maui County, Hawaii. So, if you break it down, take $25 billion and divide it by that number of citizens, you get the following. $151,000 per person. $151,000 is still a whole lot more than $700. But yet, our government isn't going to give $25 billion to help Maui. They want to give it to a country on the other side of the world, to people who are not citizens of the United States, who are involved in a war that has nothing to do with us. They'll give it to them, but they won't help people in Maui who've been devastated by a wildfire. Hopefully, you folks in the press get it, but if you don't, let me show you one more thing. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me and people like you. And now, I hope you folks in the press finally get it. The sad part about it is, even after walking you through this exercise, I've got a feeling you won't. But that's what I think about it. What do you think? As we start to wrap up this video, please do the following for me, as always. Number 1, if you're not a subscriber to this channel, please do so. Number 2, please leave a comment below. It really helps with the algorithm, and you wouldn't believe how useful it is for a new content creator like me. Number 3, please share the video around. Number 4, please hit the bell for notifications. I want to make sure that you're always aware when I'm putting out a new video. And number 5, please give me a thumbs up. My name is Brian Trippett. I'm your Front Porch Conservative, and I'll see you next time.